Coming to you live from the big top. It's this week's Apocalypse. I am your co-host and trainee clown / mime artist, Kevin Lenihan. With me, as always, is the ringmaster himself, the cruel master of the circus, John Ferris. John,
Yeah.
John, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I have my whip to whip all these cornies into shape.
Damn right, that'll defend you from the fully fledged clowns.
Yeah.
That we have here baying for blood on the sidelines, as they always are.
Which is just normal, as far as I can tell with clowns.
Yeah, John, have you ever found clowns to be amusing in any way?
No. Not even slightly. There's nothing about a clown, and this may offend people. It'll probably just offend clowns, but who cares about them?
Oh no.
But they even without it and things like that, or even these movies that we're going to take a peek at, they're terrifying.
Yeah, because I don't think like what you're saying there about it. You know, I don't think Stephen King made clowns scary. I think Stephen King decided it should mostly look like a clown because clowns are already
it's not
quite scary.
There's like no chicken and egg situation here. It's just clowns look terrifying. He realized this and went, I'll make my cosmic horror thing look like a clown through 90% of this.
Yeah, and that will do most of the work because I'm too busy putting cocaine up my nose over here beside my typewriter.
Yeah. We'll not talk about the ending of that book.
Jesus Christ. I don't understand most of the ending of that book or most of that book. And I actually read it.
Yeah.
And when I say read it, I looked at all the words. I definitely turned every page and looked at every word at some point. Yeah. It's kind of like how I like to say that I read Finnegan's Wake. I read Finnegan's Wake and then I started all the words and then I would get 3 pages in and be like, I don't know what's going on. This is nonsense. So yes, here we are at the big top. Oh no, clowns, John. I don't think we really need an excuse to tell people for why we want to stop or get rid of clowns, John.
Yeah.
So I think we're golden there. I mean, it's one of those phobias that is fairly common.
And it's kind of works well as well because at the time of recording this, like a couple of days ago, the biggest clown in the UK resigned.
He resigned? John, was it in disgrace? Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, John, I just realised.
Bojo the clown.
Big Bojo, honk honk. Oh, John, I had pictured in my head some kind of pan-UK clown organisation. Now, again, I feel like I'm making more jokes about the Conservative Party here.
Yeah, keep going.
By accident. But there was a thing in my head briefly when you said that for a second. I pictured this actual clown in a little pointy, rounded-off black hat with little white things on it, sitting behind a desk writing a resignation letter because he just couldn't go on with the state of clowning today. And again, I feel like I'm just playing into your.
It's literally it's the analogy's getting even stronger.
Aye, so it's and as I was saying, most people are like most people. A lot of people I think feel similarly to us when it comes to clowns, and some people are genuinely afraid of them. Now it is a phobia; it is irrational in a way. It's what is it? Coulrophobia?
Yeah.
I think it is, which is the fear or phobia of clowns. But a lot of people, I know more than 2 people who have this, which seems a lot for a phobia.
Yeah.
I mean, arachnophobia is fairly common as well. John, do you think are you more anti-spider or anti-clown?
Probably more anti-spider because I do have some like I don't know if I have like full-fledged arachnophobia. I don't even know what that means really to know, but I do have to kill one if I see it. It's like,
that sounds pretty irrational to me.
Yeah, it is pretty irrational. Like I really don't like them.
Yeah,
like,
I've never been spurred to murder a clown, but who knows? Maybe by the end of today we'll get there.
I think I've kind of gone through a lot of my life avoiding clowns in general.
Yeah, I have a vague memory of being at a circus once a very long time ago and not enjoying it. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere at the King's Hall, and it might have been terrible.
Yeah.
Who knows? So, John, to aid us in our Oh No Clowns, again, which we have pretty much established we don't really need an excuse to be anti-clown, it seems like. It seems like we're not going to get a lot of dissenters. So, we have 3 movies here, John, to teach us about stopping them, hopefully.
Yep.
So, we have from 2016, we have a movie named Terrifier, directed by Damien Leone, or perhaps Damien Leone. I don't know. Is it spelled? It might be a French name. I'm not sure. I think it's an American-produced film, but so the log line for that, which we do now, it's very short. On Halloween night, Tara Hayes finds herself as the obsession of a sadistic murderer known as Art the Clown.
Oh, I didn't really even realize he had a name. But
yeah, I think it will be mentioned tangentially in the film.
Right.
But anyway, then we have from 2014, we have Clown.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward title there.
Yep, aptly named.
Directed by John Watts of Spider-Man movies fame. And also that cop car movie I was going on about before that I really, really, really like. This is very good, that we should probably watch at some point.
Yeah.
So, again, very short log line for this. A loving father finds a clown suit for his son's birthday party, only to realize that it is cursed.
Yeah, because it's a clown costume.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he kind of blundered into that one, didn't he? Oh,
Who willingly puts on a clown costume?
yeah, indeed. And then from 2019, we have Joker.
The most famous of all clowns.
Indeed, the Clown Prince of Crime, he has been dubbed.
Yeah. What else? The Harley Quinn of hate. The Jester of genocide.
These all sound like nicknames from the original 1960s Batman TV series.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I don't know if I got them
Robin
right.
would say over, like, it sounds like something Robin would just go through the list while they're standing there next to each other posing.
Or Harley Quinn would like introduce him that way. I think that's actually what
Yeah.
happens. She's like introducing the Clown Prince of Crime, and then
Indeed,
and all
you
that
get all them
nonsense.
names. Yeah, all right, and so the director of that being Todd Phillips. Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Mr. Hangover. We will get to that later.
Yeah.
So, again, short log line for all of these, mercifully. A mentally troubled stand-up comedian embarks on a downward spiral that leads to the creation of an iconic villain.
Oh.
There you go. Very much playing into the, you know what this movie's about. Because it's called The Thing, and it's produced by DC. So, you know. Yeah, you're not fooling anyone there.
If you look up the King of Comedy log line, it's probably very similar.
Actually, yeah, which we will also probably talk about.
I mean, it's impossible not to.
No, yeah, you cannot. It's so deliberate.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's sit down and watch these movies. Honk, honk. All right, John. Well, usually at this point I would address the horror of the clowns, but again, I really don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be done.
There's no justification needed. Everybody understands why we want to stop the clowns.
Yeah.
So, John, what did you think of Terrifier from 2016, directed by probably Damien Leone?
This was torture to get through. This was painful. This was a painful watch. And like at the start, I was kind of going, okay, this might be one of those so bad it's good kind of nonsense things, and it very much is like leaning into that kind of 80s video nasty type feel.
Yeah.
But it's fucking shite.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't know if we're going to spend a lot of time talking about this movie, because I don't think it deserves it.
It doesn't.
And I'm not saying that in a sort of reactionary conservative, oh my god, this film's disgraceful, because I watched some powerful shite, and I watched some gruesome stuff, and I like it when a movie gets itself over the top and embraces what it is. The problem with this film is that it is completely just creatively bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's cliched. It is just all they're doing. Every single sort of death in this movie. Now, I would sort of hold up the Friday the 13th series as one of the best sort of examples of special effects people having fun and being creative, and doing ridiculous over the top things and trying to find new ways to do ridiculous over the top things and having fun, getting wild. This movie's just a bunch of rip-offs of things that have happened in other movies, pretty much verbatim.
Yeah.
Every single sort of to reduce it down to the sort of the mechanics of it, every single kill in this movie is taken from another film.
Yeah.
They're all just rip-offs. They're bad. The villain, they cast the clown well enough. He looks like a creep.
Yeah. And I think he actually trained as a mime artist, so he was like bringing elements of that in, and like, he did well with what he had. Obviously he is in a terrible movie, so he's not going to lift it really. Especially he's silent. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't even make noises.
No, he doesn't say a damn thing. He doesn't grunt. He doesn't scream when he's hurt. He mimes these things.
Yeah.
He mimes screaming and stuff like that, and he's quite, again, as you say, if he trained as a mime artist, then he's good at that.
Yeah.
But he's a silent antagonist, and it's just like the dialogue's really crap, but not in that way that you would hope. Not in the way that I'm gonna just make a video game reference here. There's those Supermassive guys that make those sort of horror movie inspired games. They recently came out with The Quarry.
Yeah, Until Dawn's probably their biggest one.
Yeah, and Until Dawn. Now, the dialogue in those games is quote unquote bad, but it is intentionally, here's what these people in these movies are like. Bad.
It leans into the tropes, but it does it well. It's like there's an understanding there of the whether or not you think it pays off in the long run and all this, but usually they get the characters fairly well as to the tropes.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's trying to maybe, or that, like, I just can't tell if he's just a bad writer. And it's just like that's what he's doing, and he's like, because I looked a wee bit into this writer director Damien Leone. That's just what I'm going to call him. And he seems really, really obsessed with the idea of making Art the Clown a thing. Like, there's a Terrifier 2 coming out, which just is baffling.
That's weird, but I guess if your movie cost nothing to make, and you have enough people going, oh, let's watch this, and you make enough money, just about enough, there's probably a line that you cross.
Yeah. I think there's
cost-wise.
There's enough people who'll just be like, oh, he cuts a woman in half.
Yeah, like, which is just the fucking thing from Bone Tomahawk. It was just that. And I'm pretty sure one of the Saw sequels did the exact same thing.
Yeah. And it's kind of they keep going back to it because it's the only thing they really have that to show. They keep like going, oh, look at that, look, it's grotesque, and you're like, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
they probably spent a lot of money making that mannequin thing.
But which is why they keep reusing it, like, new characters come and go, oh my god, and then it lingers on it for another while, and you're like, you're just highlighting the fact that you spent a lot of money on this. That that's really stupid. But so like he seems really like almost obsessed with, because this character, like, he did like a short with him, then he did that All Hallows Eve, which is an anthology thing, and this, like, Art the Clown appeared in his wee segment. So I don't know, to me it just seems like someone should make a movie about this guy's obsession with this, like, let's face it, like, really just boring, like, it's not unique. It's a killer clown. That's it.
Yeah, it commits the cardinal sin of horror movies by being dull.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes a movie can be kind of boring but have a point. This movie doesn't have a point, or it doesn't have really anything much to redeem it. I don't think.
No.
It's got very little going on, as we've said. It's just a bunch of stuff from other movies.
Yeah.
There's not an original thought in the whole film.
And not filmed particularly well either. Like the editing and cinematography are trash. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you're going to glean from the technical aspects of movie making. But yeah, like it because Art the Clown kind of reminds me of like a bargain bucket Papa Lazarou. And like Papa Lazarou is a much more terrifying clown-like figure than this guy.
He's a more frightening carnival sort of beast.
Yeah, Papa Lazarou, should say, is from the League of Gentlemen. Sorry,
not the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. No, that is something very different. Yeah. So I'm 100% in agreement with you there. It's just all I can say about this movie is I was just bored by it. It was so boring.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste of your time. And John, I'm sorry I wasted your time with it, because I did kind of want to see this. I had it on a list for a while of like, I must watch that at some point. Unfortunately for us, I guess, well, I don't want to say I was wrong, because now I know.
Like to be fair, it's been reviewed fairly well.
Yeah,
but that's usually, as you've mentioned before, from a lot of these horror review sites and stuff. Like they're really
skewed.
they're very
their
skewed.
Standards are in the gutter when it comes to things actually being of any quality.
Yeah,
I never trust reviews from a specific genre-focused site.
Yeah.
And most of the genre-focused sites are horror. And you look at their reviews, like, as I've said before, I used to, like, go through the top 10 lists of those sites for, like, the top 10 horror movies that came out this year, according to us.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, what did I miss? And they'd be saying all these things about all these films, and then you go and watch them, and you just be scratching your head, like, this is absolute drivel. Like, the best example in recent times I can think about that is, oh gosh, what was it called? That Nicolas Cage movie where it's basically Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, yes.
Live action. Something Funland or something. Oh, I do not recall. It was, again, much like this movie, it was so dull.
Yeah.
It was so dull. Like, you watch the trailer and you're like, yeah, okay, it looks cheap, but maybe it'll be fun because it's got Nicolas Cage in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he can ham it up, and he can do, like, there are like, two different Nicolas Cages. There's the Nicolas Cage who is like acts, and like throws himself. Well, there's three. There's the one that throws himself into a serious
just gonna keep
performance.
Going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 4. There's 5. There's infinite Nicolas Cages.
Yeah. No, there is the Nicolas Cage who takes on a movie because he believes in it.
Yeah.
And he goes in and he'll throw himself into the performance in like a serious way. And then there's the Nicolas Cage who'll take on a movie because he's fascinated or interested by it, and he'll throw himself into it in a crazy over the top way. Mm-hmm. And then there's a Nicolas Cage that just needs to pay his tax bill.
Yeah.
And that movie was the Nicolas Cage that just needed to pay his tax bill. He did not. He doesn't say a single word for the whole film. There's no lines from his character. He just looks at people, mostly with sunglasses on. He does very little. He spends most of the time mopping the floor of a bathroom.
It's an easy paycheck then.
Yeah, and the action scenes in it is him standing 1 foot away from people in mascot suits, slowly, lazily sort of punching them. And it's terrible. Willy's Wonderland, that was it. It was called Willy's Wonderland. Yeah. It's fucking terrible. Don't watch it. It was dull as fuck. This is like Willy's Wonderland, but with like more blood.
Yeah.
And people dying. Because it was so, you're like, you think the idea of it, oh, that sounds like something you can't really fuck up, and then it's just dull. It's just boring, nothing going on in it, nothing clever, nothing smart, just ultimately I felt like it did waste my time.
Yeah.
It wasted my time, and it was minging for no reason.
Fuck you, Damien Leone, and fuck Art the Clown.
Fuck.
He's not going to be the next Freddy Krueger.
He is definitely not going to be the next Freddy Krueger. He is not going to be the next anything. You'll go do your straight to streaming sequel, and then hopefully the character will die forever. Well, John, now that that's done with,
Yep.
we can move on. Thankfully, we have Terrifier behind us.
Mm-hmm.
Not literally, because that would be still a little unnerving, because that guy was creepy.
Yeah.
We'll move on then to another very succinctly titled movie. Clown from 2014, directed by John Watts. Again, the short log line for that. A loving father finds a clown suit for his son's birthday party, only to realize that it is cursed.
Yes, it is.
It is very cursed indeed, John. What did you think of Gloon?
I really loved the start of this movie, and then as it goes on, it loses me entirely. Like, it gets really slow. The pace kind of just completely gets bogged down, which is shocking because Peter Stormare is introduced.
Yep.
And you're like, yes, and then you're like, they're wasting Peter Stormare.
Yep. My favourite Satan.
Yeah, my favourite Satan.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like once the focus goes away from the dad who is having this trouble of the suit kind of being unable to take off and like fusing with them and things like that, it becomes kind of just cliched and boring. Not to the same extent of Terrifier.
No.
But definitely, like, it was just starting to lose me. Like, once it kind of focuses more on on his wife and her trying to find him, it just was like, he's had a really good thing here, and like, it was really creepy, and he looks terrifying when when they rip the fake nose off, and it's all like, that's painful. That's like, you feel that you're like, that's not nice, but yeah, then it just gets kind of generic. But I mean, overall, it's okay. It's
it averages out, I think, to being all right. It is. You're right. Like, there is so much of the film that is just spent like, where is he?
Yeah,
and you're like, I don't care where he is. I want to know what he's doing.
Yeah,
that's what's important to me right now. Let's follow his transformation a little closer, but no, like, there's so much of it is like, he's missing, and oh no, and like, oh, like the father-in-law, like, oh, I'm grumpy and I don't I never liked this guy, I guess. I was like, I don't really care about any of this stuff,
and especially it doesn't seem justified because, like, I like the start because he's not like a deadbeat dad who's like doing this as like the least thing, like he's not really there, so this is like, I'll make an effort this time, and it backfires. No, he seems fairly like he's a good dad, and like, he's a character that doesn't deserve this fate, and I kind of like that, because it's kind of adds to the horror that it's not just some guy that you're going, well, fuck him, he was a dick anyway.
It's the arbitrary nature of the curse makes it better somehow.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, this person doesn't deserve to have this happen to them. Kind of like It Follows kind of did that as well, where it's like, it's so arbitrary, or like Ringu does that, where you're like, or the Grudge, Ju-on, where it's like, in Ju-on, it's like, oh, well, you went into the wrong house.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. You just went into this house, and then you went home, and then oh no, now you're buggered. Which is great, because it's like, okay, this is happening to me, and I am helpless against it, and I'm trying to find a way around it, but I am just being defeated again and again by it, and all that stuff is great, and I do like the gruesomeness when it happens is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
They're pretty well handled. He kills a lot of children.
Yeah.
That meets John Ferris's stamp of approval.
Of course.
They're child actors, so you know.
Yep. They kill them all.
Their life isn't hard enough. We need to introduce murder clowns. So yeah, I liked it. I remember liking it the first time I saw it. I saw it a while ago, probably not that long after it came out.
Yeah.
And thinking, this is pretty good. But again, it's sort of the start and the end are the best parts, like the first third, and then maybe like right at the end. It's a bit stupid towards the end. I didn't like the final transformation that you see. Like it kind of seemed a bit crappy and wonky, but because like when he's still recognizable as himself, but he's kind of all fucked up and looking more like a clown, that's the most terrifying part. And when it's him kind of trying to almost have this battle of wills against the demon side of him, which is becoming stronger, to know. I really do think they missed the point of their own movie. To know, it could have been such an interesting take on, like, just focus right on that character and how he's trying to fight it, but he can't, and like doing this really horrible thing of killing children. Like, although I mean that one in the motel was asking for it. Like, he can't. He would not stop coming back.
He was more or less like drenching himself in barbecue sauce and going, "Here, I'm delicious." It's like, leave me alone. Oh, here, but look how delicious I am.
Yeah, and also there's the massively unlikely hurdle to get over right at the beginning, that his son is into clowns in the first place is kind of wild.
Yeah, that's the most unbelievable part of the movie.
That is the most difficult suspension of disbelief I had, was that this kid was somehow actually into clowns.
Yeah. And there was like, it was kind of, even tonally, the start of it is a bit kind of like dark comedy, and it kind of loses that, because you know, you have those moments where when he realizes that he can't get the suit off and that he has this hunger for children, he tries to blow his brains out, and it's like
really fun. It's delightful. The rainbow blood on the wall behind him.
It's like really dark. It's a guy going to commit suicide, and you know, that's obviously a trigger for a lot of people. So you know, there's a bit of warning there, but it is, as you say, like when he hits the trigger, the rainbow blood, and then he's like comes to in a couple of minutes. He's like, oh, for fuck's sake. And like looking at reciprocating saws and like things like that. Like, what's the easiest way for me to like chop my head off?
Chop your own head off without anybody else's assistance, and he comes up with a fucking terrible method. It's comically just like, oh, this could just go so wrong. Yeah. So easily, and does. So I do like it. I think overall I like this film. But as you say, like, I think it probably works better as like maybe like if it was a short or something, you know, definitely. If it was like half an hour maybe, or an hour, something like that, and it's packed in, because it does feel like him being hidden somewhere and them doing the exposition while he's hidden and running about the place trying to find him feels like what it is, which is filler. Yeah, it's filling it out to be feature length.
And it's a shame, because he does really well. Like, I think he does throw himself into the role. Right. You know, and he's acting very well. And of course, you have Peter Stormare doing his Peter Stormare thing, which we've already mentioned. Like, it gets kind of underutilized in a way. But
absolutely.
But one of the weakest performances in it is the wife, and unfortunately, the latter half seems to focus on her, and you're like, it's just no.
Yeah, there's just like they're just ginning up things for these characters to do while they run out the clock. Yeah. On the ending scene that they already have planned, so that you're just waiting to happen, and of course the scene in the Chuck E. Cheese, which I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed the part in the Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. There was some nice sort of scary stuff happening in sort of a series of tubes in the sort of play area in there that I quite enjoyed. It was kind of reminiscent of the bit in Alien when Dallas is going through the vents. Just a little bit. You know.
He must be pretty crap though, because like surely that guy could have eaten 5 children in there alone.
You'd think so, but
Children
then
are
the
easy
movie,
to catch.
but then the movie would be over. I did enjoy the one disappearing underneath the ball pit though, just yoink.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. And the blood pouring down the slide into the ball pit as well. I enjoyed that in an arm.
Yeah.
Seems to me that like if you look at reviews for this movie, there's a lot of sort of quite reactionary reviews of like the fact that they're killing all these kids.
Oh yes,
and,
the taboo.
Like, yeah, there was a few people made note of the fact that they shouldn't have done the bit with the severed arm, and like that was a bit where I was just like, I got excited when that happened because I was like, oh cool, they're doing some fun shit now after all this boring stuff.
Maybe this says more about us than anything else.
Yeah, maybe we've got problems. But overall, I think this movie is mostly successful. I think he would go on to make a much better... Oh, excuse me. I think John Watts would go on to make much better films after this.
Yeah.
Cop Car's great. Those 3 Spider-Man movies that he made are very good too.
Yeah.
I know if I can stop talking about Cop Car. You're going to get around to watching Cop Car and you're going to be like, what the fuck was he talking about? This is terrible. But who knows? You know,
Well,
but I really liked it.
It seems to have Kevin Bacon being a creep again, so
It does.
He's
It
good
does.
at that.
He's so good at being a creep.
He would make a good scary clown.
Yeah, could you imagine him in like all like scary white clown makeup with a big fake? I think would he be a frowny clown or a smiley clown? Do you think?
I think he would be a frowny clown because he's very skinny as well. So he's very lean, and like he would be that, you know, like the serious clown.
Do you think he'd be like the white face clown that doesn't even have?
Yeah,
the
he'd be
smile,
more like
just
that. Yeah,
the black line just over the lips.
he would have a team of clowns, and so you'd have the big rotund one that would be like an enforcer of his. Yeah, I could picture that.
Yeah, just his right hand, as it were.
Let's get to writing our scary clown movie.
This is brilliant. Yeah. I mean, he'll do pretty much anything these days.
Oh yeah, he's in all those ads for phones.
Yeah, he's doing not even phones, it's phone service. He's not even advertising specific phones. Anyway, this is enough about Kevin Bacon and enough about I think we've said everything there is to say about Clown.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's like again, there's not much to really, you know, because on like the technical aspects of the movie, it's okay. It's not. Yeah. It's serviceable. It's definitely not like Terrifier, where it's borderline insulting that someone got paid money to do it. But no, it definitely has its moments. And
I like the makeup at certain points. The makeup's brilliant.
Yeah.
Whenever he's not quite fully transformed, but he's getting there, is great.
Yeah, and like it kind of, you know, as much as I didn't like the final transformation, it's you still kind of, part of you still wants to see like, what is this like final transformation of a clown?
Yeah.
Because I don't even think we mentioned that, like in this, the lore is that the clowns were originally demons, which makes sense.
This is someone sitting down trying to rationalize. This is John Watts in like probably 2012, 2013, sitting down wondering about clowns.
Yeah.
And being like, why is that even a thing? Because they're horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. What if it was this? And it's a really good explanation for why something would look like that. With the makeup and the lines on the face and all that stuff, and the way it's
to me, it kind of had parallels to that Santa movie that we watched, Rare Exports.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they kind of come up with this like alternative backstory for Santa, and this and you know, and this is an alternative backstory of clowns. Yeah, which explains why people are terrified of them, and I fully believe it. Yeah, which means that this is why this movie gets way more points than Terrifier for having a really good idea at its core and being creative and thoughtful, at least, if not terribly well paced. Yeah. That's gonna sound so bad when it comes back.
with the lag and everything. It's going to be even worse because you sounded out of time to me.
Yep.
So
Well.
wonderful. All right. So, John, the big top, burn it all down. That's what I say. But before that, John,
Yeah.
talking of losing it and burning things down or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Todd Phillips, not the Joker. It's just Joker, isn't it?
Just Joker, yeah.
Todd Phillips, Joker from 2019.
Yeah.
Relatively modern.
Before everything started going wrong.
Pre-pandemic and other things. And also during other bad things.
Yeah.
John Watts. Sorry, not John Watts. Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips. I'm just obsessed with John Watts. I just want to talk about Cop Car again, apparently.
Oh, God. Here we go.
So, Todd Phillips, director of the, if I may be so bold as to say it, crap hangover movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I know comedy is subjective, but I personally didn't find any of those. I saw the first one.
First one was all right. It was watchable, I thought, but it wasn't like everyone seemed to be treating it like this is amazing.
It's the new era of comedy. Look, it's the new Rat Pack or whatever. And I was just like, it's okay. It's kind of a series of sketches.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But, okay, whatever. And the second one was garbage.
Yeah.
I saw part of the second one and switched it off because it was so unfunny and, to be honest, it was boring me.
Yeah.
I did not watch the third one. Was there a fourth one?
Fuck, I don't know. No, I'm just looking. There was just the three. I haven't seen the third one, but I'm assuming it's crap.
Yeah, he did that Starsky and Hutch update reboot, which I also thought was kind of bad.
Yeah.
I don't. Have I seen War Dogs? I think I saw that and it was all right. Yes, War Dogs was good.
Yeah.
War Dogs was good. He's kind of like, it wasn't really a comedy. It was funny here and there, but it was definitely moving away from comedy. It starred Jonah Hill. It starred some comedy people. It was Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum in it.
Oh,
and it is actually pretty good. But yeah, but this movie, John, this movie Joker that, and I am sick of hearing people when they're talking about DC properties recently, specifically regarding this character, saying, "Oh, that's not the Joker."
Yeah.
So they said it in that new The Batman movie. Your man Kyo, who was alluded to in the movie. You see him in a cell towards the end, and you're like, oh, well, that's the Joker. And then we were told, no, actually, that's not the Joker. And then there was a deleted scene in which he was definitely the Joker. That they put out of him doing the old, like, Will Graham going back to see Hannibal Lecter, basically, to get a feel for the lunatic bit where Batman goes to see what is obviously the Joker.
Yeah.
And then they come out and say, actually, that's not the Joker. And you stop saying that. They also said that about this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, well, he's not the Joker, but he may be the person who inspires the Joker. Well, then why is he calling himself Joker and the movie is called Joker? But anyway, John, if we just get past all this comic book crap.
And it just kind of makes the Joker a bit of like a pathetic fanboy.
Yeah, it does.
Not
Kinda,
all right, he can't think for himself. He's like...
Yeah.
He was inspired by Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Yeah. So go away with that stuff. Comic book crap.
Like, these people not realize that, like, even in comic books, like, I'm not very well versed, but even I know that you can, like, have these standalone issues of things, or you can have things that don't necessarily need to be linked. Like, I fucking hate this. It's especially prevalent these days where everything has to be linked to everything else. Like, you can't just make a movie about a character now because it has to, like, feed into the other Batman movie, or it has to feed into this other fucking property, and it's just like, it's just boring. It's just very limiting, and it's like, this is a different take on the Joker. Yeah,
it can exist on its own. And as you say, comic books have done that. There are one-shots. There are little things. I mean, there was a fucking thing called Batman Bloodstorm where Batman was a vampire. And he was going around murdering...
That's not canon.
I know, exactly. That's what's so great about it. That's what I love about it, is that it was Batman going around. Everyone in Gotham's freaking out about this quote-unquote serial killer that's going around chopping people's heads off and driving stakes through their hearts. But then it turns out very quickly it's actually Batman going around killing vampires. And he is a vampire, and it was very good. Or there was a fantastic book called Kingdom Come that was this sort of, actually in a sort of a The Boys, almost like a Garth Ennis sort of way, taking off like what would happen if the things that happened to superheroes actually happened.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was brilliant. It was really good. It was all like these things about like, well, what if Bruce Banner actually got hit with all this radiation? Yeah. Would it happen like that, or how would it actually happen? And it's way different. It's this guy going around interviewing all these people, like, and asking them things about like what went wrong. It's basically an alternate universe idea of like, this is the universe where everything didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
And he feels that there's something wrong, and he's going around talking about it, and it's fucking brilliant. It's great. I love stuff like that. Yeah. And this movie, I think, if you don't give it the baggage of the DC universe,
it's some heavy baggage.
Which is some heavy baggage, this movie comes out a lot better. If you're not sitting there looking for the comic book crap in there, then I think you're in a much better position to enjoy this movie. So, John, what did you think of Todd Phillips of The Hangover fame's Joker?
I really love the Joker. I have some issues with it. Like, I think when it does kind of try to go too close to the Batman stuff, like, you know, that whole stuff that like Bruce Wayne is in the movie and stuff, or its weaker points, like it's kind of quite out there in the sense of like what is a fairly grounded story. I mean, we can't really say anything about this movie without bringing up the King of Comedy, because story-wise, it's pretty much...
Story-wise, it's very similar. Robert De Niro is in this movie.
Yeah.
Basically being that guy.
To legitimize the homage,
let's call it, John.
Yeah, I think it is a homage. Like, you know, if you want to be mean, you could call it a rip-off. And like a lot of this movie's very polarizing in that sense, where I get a lot of it as just pretentious fucking reviewers saying it's shit because I seen the King of Comedy. Like, that seems to be the level of it. It's like, oh, the King of Comedy did it better. It's like, I can see where you're coming from. There are very strong similarities, but at some point they diverge. And Arthur Fleck is a very different character to Rupert Pupkin. Yeah. You know, they kind of focus on different aspects. Like the King of Comedy is more about the hero worship and that stuff, which is still present in the Joker a bit, but he's more like this movie focuses more on the mental illness side of things, and kind of, as much as it's a meme now, like society not being equipped to...
We live in a society.
We live in a society. Like, you know, as much as that's...
We live in a society of rules.
But I found, like, even in the IMDb trivia page, there's a little section that says, in Vanity Fair, apparently, there was a neurocriminologist who actually stated that he uses this movie to teach classes now, because they did they did a lot of work on Arthur Fleck's character. If you read like the interviews and things with Joaquin Phoenix on this character are fascinating, and just how much, well, he went on a massive diet to become emaciated, much like what do you call him?
Well, there was
Batman.
There was Christian Bale.
Christian Bale in The Machinist.
For The Machinist, in which he was just disgustingly emaciated in a way. It was like watching a skeleton with Christian Bale's head stuck on top walking around the place. It was like, it did not seem healthy. It's kind of like, again, to bring up Robert De Niro, it's kind of like the other end of the spectrum from what Robert De Niro did for Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Where you would wonder whether or not you are actually hurting yourself by doing that. Because and Robert De Niro did. I mean, Robert De Niro never recovered really fully from Raging Bull. No. You look at him pre-Raging Bull and post-Raging Bull, and his face is a different shape. His face changes. There is a different looking. Like, you look at him in Taxi Driver versus him in Goodfellas, and you're like, you're kind of like, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
You could almost think it was a different actor. Now, you hear him speak, and you're immediately just like, the facial expressions, and you're like, okay, that's not Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
But there is something about the way his jowls and like the whole bottom half of his face is just completely different from when he did Raging Bull onwards. It's just...
It can't be healthy. And
no,
like,
it's
Christian
bad.
Bale's one, he went super skinny for Machinist, and his next movie was Batman Begins, and he got super ripped, and it was like, dude, you're going to die, and you're going to die like when you're 50, because your heart's going to be like, you just keep doing this shit to me. And then he did it again, I think, for American Hustle or something like that. He put the weight on, but not only like there's the weight thing, and like I don't want to downplay it either. Like, it's very difficult, and it does help them get into the roles and things like that. But Joaquin Phoenix, he talks a lot about kind of studying different patients and mental asylums and things like that, and wanting to create a character that even medical professionals, like psychological professionals, would have difficulty diagnosing. Yeah. Because the thing that drew him to this character, he was trying to push for it to not be not be tied in with DC and not be Joker, but it works as the Joker, like, but so he was really taken with just the complexity of the character and just how I have to agree with him. It's not a simple answer to is Arthur Fleck a good character or a good person? Sorry, not a good character. Good person, or is he a bad person? It's like, it's not really that black or white. It's a very grey movie as far as things like that go.
Yeah, and it is kind of like, it is a bit scathing with, like, there's the whole section where they're just like, we can't treat you anymore for your illness.
Yeah.
Because the program got cut and you don't qualify anymore. And also I'm out of a job.
Yeah.
It's very much like, that's what happens. That is true. That goes on. That's what happens in America. Especially. More often when people vote for people who don't care.
Yeah.
That's the real end result of when you vote for, I'm just going to say it, Republican politicians. They don't care about stuff like that. They will pretend to care for 5 minutes to get some people's votes, and they will do nothing about it. And that's the end result. That's why I was, I've only been to America once, and it was about 2.5 months ago now. And I saw a lot of mentally ill people walking the streets who were clearly mentally ill and homeless. Yeah. And watching this, especially now after having been there and come back, it was very apparent to me that that's whose fault it is.
Yeah.
Somebody did that. This happens. This is real. There are people who need help who don't get it because of poor governance.
Yeah.
And this is the end result. And I don't want to talk, like, there's a lot of people, there's been a lot of violence in America, and it has been amping up, and I don't know if maybe the two things are connected, but who knows. But this movie's very much like they're doing a sort of a Taxi Driver thing. Yeah. To a point where
it's very like, They probably owe Martin Scorsese some money, to be fair.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
There is that fine line. As we said, we think it's a homage, but I mean, they are pushing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think it's well made. I think Joaquin Phoenix is
brilliant,
fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
There is something about his whole performance that is just brilliant. I mean, he really does that embodying a character thing, you know. Everything about the physicality of him and the way he talks and the way his face moves and everything is just like very idiosyncratic. Like his run especially is just he feels like when he sometimes he feels like he's 6 years old.
Yeah.
It's like a character who never grew up. There's a point where he has this little fantasy thing where he's watching they're watching the TV and they're watching, I can't remember the name of Robert De Niro's actual character.
Oh,
in the film.
Murray Franklin.
Murray, he's watching that show and then he's imagines he's there in the audience.
Yeah.
And then he's it's so just you feel really cringy when you're watching it.
It's so bad.
It's embarrassing.
The first time watching, you're going, "What's going? This is really badly written." And then, because it kind of almost happens where you're like, "Is this in his head, or is this flash forward or back, or what's happening?" I love when that scene ends. Because the studio's very warmly lit and all this, and then it just cuts to Arthur's face in this very blue cold palette on the screen, and it things like that, it is very well directed in that sense. And you know, again, the detractors will say because and there's a lot of scenes, there's even scenes lifted from the Network and things like that. You know, there's certain bits I was kind of going, oh, that's directly lifted from that movie. But you know, there's enough, I think, uniqueness in it to allow it to justify its its existence, and I think it is very good. And I think a lot of that is on Joaquin Phoenix's shoulders, because I think he's just all the things you're saying, the physicality, the slight nuances. You know, he just has to turn his even the laughs, the amount of work he did on the laughs, and they're all very distinct, where you can kind of tell when it's the mental condition, which actually is a real mental condition as well. You know, you can tell when it's that, because you can see the pain, you can see him trying to stop it, or the forced one that he does, when he's in the clown office or whatever.
It's such a weird phrase to say, when he's in the clown office.
Or are we talking about the Conservatives again?
It's not the cabinet, is it?
But yeah, because your man, I think Randall, you call him, who's the asshole guy who gives him the gun, and stuff, when he because he is always punching below the belt. He makes fun of the dwarf guy, and Arthur does what's really obviously a fake laugh, and it's terrifying. And then when he turns the corner, he just stops.
It's the abruptness of how that he shifts is really striking, and makes him a little frightening, because you kind of realize, he can just he can just turn that on and off as well. But you can tell the difference when he's really laughing. His real laugh is really loud, and piercing and sudden, when he's at a comedy club and taking notes of the other comedian, and he's laughing at this other comedian, and it's really loud.
But there's also a moment in that when you see that he almost doesn't understand what's funny, and it's everyone else laughs, and a couple of seconds later he ha, just the joy. I can't do his laugh, obviously. But there's things like that just add to the whole terrifying, question mark over him, this whole there's something wrong with this guy, and I find him very sympathetic as well. I kind of want him to get help. and you kind of know what you're in for, though. Like, so that's not going to happen.
It's one of those things where you know what movie you're watching.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact that they call it Joker and you know it's a DC thing, you know it has to end, he has to end up somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be good for him personally or mentally or anybody else. But it's just, it's very good, and I do like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a little long.
Yeah.
I think the pacing is a little bit off here and there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like I'm also nitpicking a bit.
There's a few sections I think some of the dancing stuff could have been at the very least shortened. Some of it I think what isn't necessary. Like you've got that bit on the stairs where he's dancing for ages, and it's like, okay, I see what you're going for here, but it's kind of unnecessary and kind of cringy in a way. Yeah. But and the whole love interest thing and how that culminates at the end, that's the weakest part in the movie, and it's not necessary. There is
something about that's a thing. I'm not going to get specific what it is. A thing I do not like in stories.
Yeah.
When they do things like that.
We'll talk about that in the spoiler section.
We'll talk about that.
But I do think this is definitely worth a watch. I think as you mentioned, I kind of think we're nitpicking a lot.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I think it's worth a watch just for Joaquin Phoenix's performance, because it is astounding and he's so good. And actually, I mean, the supporting cast are great as well. You know, Frances Conroy, who plays his mum, she's always great. Like she's been in loads of stuff. Like she
plays loads of characters that are sort of like that. She gets typecast a lot.
Yeah, she's kind of like, I'll play the unhinged mother character.
Yeah.
But she does it so fucking well.
She's brilliant, yes.
But then, like, you've got, like, she was the mum in 6 Feet Under, and, you know, so she doesn't have to be insane in all of them.
No, she doesn't. She's not always unhinged. But whenever she is unhinged, she's extremely believable and very good at it. Yeah, I'll give her that. Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess that's a recommend, and I think if you watch Joker and you like it, maybe go watch King of Comedy, Taxi Driver, or Network.
You should watch them anyway.
You should watch all those films
all
anyway.
Great movies,
but it's a good gauge to be like, well, I liked things about this movie. Well, maybe you'll like one or all of those. Yeah. Because I love all of those films. All of those films are fucking wonderful.
I would be shocked if you didn't like The King of Comedy and like The Joker. Like it.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah, you'd be like, what? It's like, do you just hate Robert De Niro? Because even that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, it's definitely. Don't worry, John. Somebody out there, that person exists.
Yeah, that person exists.
That person exists, and is probably more numerous than you think or hope. Oh. But anyway, yes. So that's Joker. Is we don't really have a thing. It's a recommend.
Yeah, recommend. Do you want to start rating them?
No,
I know how you feel about rating.
No, I don't.
Only if it was like a 13 Badgers out of 18.
Only if it was. I think we've talked about this before. Only if it was a really odd number, like out of 7. You know, if we're gonna rate things on a 7-point scale or something like that.
You could probably work that out, because you could probably do it in the sense of, like, you know, 1 star for story, 1 for editing, 1 for blah, blah, blah.
That's the old GameSpot method of reviewing games, like
it's so
graphics and gameplay and reviewers tilt and all that stuff. It was so busted. They tried really hard to make that work, and it never really did.
Yeah, it's a bad way to do it.
Yeah, so this gets my reviewers tilt. How about that?
Okay.
There you go. Gets my reviewers tilt. Oh yeah, interpret that whatever way you feel you must. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop.
boop. I don't know the rest of it.
That doesn't matter,
does it just do that forever? Boop, boop,
it does. It just does that forever. Yes.
or it gets quicker.
Yes. So back in the big
Sick
top or
of
whatever,
clowns.
kill all clowns. Yeah, too many clowns, John. But you gotta love that Joker.
Yeah.
To quote the original Batman movie. Well, say the original. That's not the original Batman movie. The 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie.
Yeah.
Not the 60s Batman movie with the exploding shark and the octopus stuffed with dynamite and all that good stuff.
The one that started the trend of like darkening each Batman movie as they go along, they're just getting darker and darker. Where like the latest one, the Batman, is like there's literal scenes where you're like,
yeah, I feel that was dark, and then it got there was a weird upswing for a while.
Yeah,
because there was Batman 1989, and then there was Batman Returns, which was a bit sort of silly.
Yeah.
Which again sounds stupid saying that about a comic book movie because of course
a billionaire who dresses up as a bat is silly.
Fights crimes. He fights a penguin man. That's not silly at all. Yeah. So I feel like Batman Returns was a bit less grounded, let's say. Batman Forever was not a good movie. And the less said about Batman and Robin, would you consider Batman and Robin to be dark or just a dark time?
Just a dark time, probably.
A confused, poorly constructed narrative.
I always even forget those exist, so I don't even include them in it.
I can never forget, John. I can never forget Batman and Robin or Batman Forever. Now, I saw Batman Forever a lot of times.
Yeah.
A weird number of times. For a movie that I don't like. I've seen Batman and Robin like maybe thrice. I saw it in the cinema.
Yeah.
I saw Batman Forever in the cinema as well. That wasn't fun.
Oh dear.
I know. What a waste of my time and everybody else's time. So yeah, John, gotta love that Joker. But then, of course, Mr. Nolan and his I'm gonna do gritty.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think his movies are a bit silly too.
Oh, they are definitely. Yeah.
There's always this like, it's super like grounded in reality, but then also the League of Shadows and all that crap.
And he's driving a tank on the
houses. On the roofs over the houses, and he's not going through into people's attics somehow. He nearly is, like, but he's just not quite, and it's very silly. And you
always have to like suspend your disbelief with all these superhero things, like even The Boys, which I think would be one of the most grounded ones. You still have to like allow a bit.
Yeah, because I think the thing about The Boys is that while it's also being grounded, it is also actively taking the piss out of comic books in general and the golden age of superheroes, and then also modern society and times and stuff like that. So
I bet you if they had a clown, it would be terrifying.
Oh my god, can you imagine? I'm trying to think if there is one in the comics. I don't know if there's one you ever see. That they probably mention somebody at some point as a joke, as an offhand joke that you never see.
I would say so, because the Joker's like he's as big as Batman, I would say.
Yeah, in case you didn't notice, we're talking directly about the Joker here because he's very obviously the one of these films we
don't even acknowledge it anymore. We just start talking.
Yeah, the one of these films that we definitely decided was the best film because Clown was okay.
Clown's
and
all right.
Terrifier was a pile of shite. Yeah. Clown's all right. If you want a horror film about a killer clown, you could do a way worse than Clown. You could do Terrifier. That's how you could do worse than Clown. And Clown's fun. It's got some grim stuff in it. It isn't very well paced.
No,
but there are bits of it that are very, very good. Terrifier on the whole was dull and boring, and like I guess if you're sensitive to gore, you might have an unpleasant time with it. I was just bored with it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it all before, and I've seen it done better, and I've seen it done with more care.
Yeah.
I guess is really the thing that I didn't feel in Terrifier. I didn't feel like they cared about making a good film. I think they just wanted to shock, and if that's all you've got, you better actually shock me.
Yeah.
Because you didn't.
No. Not even slightly. It's
not even a little bit. No.
It's rubbish.
It is rubbish, and it's not worth talking about anymore, I don't think. So bye-bye Terrifier. Clown, grand, but bye-bye Clown. Hello Joker.
Hello Joker.
Joker. Hello Joaquin Phoenix. Spoilers.
Hello Mr. J.
Hey Mr. J. That's the worst Harley Quinn impression. Yours was slightly better than mine, I think. Yeah, I don't know what mine was. But it was alright. It's my version of Harley Quinn.
See, on that, actually, there is talk of them making a second Joker movie.
Yes,
there are rumors that
happening. It's not talk. It's confirmed.
Oh, is it confirmed?
The movie's happening. Yeah.
Lady Gaga maybe is
Harley Quinn. She has been cast.
Oh, so that. Oh, right. I assumed it was all rumors.
I thought so too, but it's all pretty much confirmed. I don't know if they've actually started shooting yet.
Yeah.
But yes,
and
Lady
it's meant
Gaga
to be a musical.
Is
that true?
Yeah, Lady Gaga is Harleen Quinzel, and they are saying that part of the reason she's cast is because it's going to be a musical. Now, I think what that means is there's going to be a lot of, as we sort of held off talking a bit about, there's a lot of flights of fancy in this movie of stuff happening in his head, which I imagine is how that's going to manifest in this film, probably.
I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. But, you know, as we kind of alluded to, the weakest part of this movie was the love interest and how they dealt with that. Yeah, and who's Domino herself? She was Domino.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
Yeah, she was fucking great.
She's great, and she's grand in this. She doesn't have a lot to do except mope. Unfortunately,
or like be tired of her kid. Being
annoyed with her child, sort of. Yeah.
I think and that's it. I think it's very good. It's just like she's just wrecked and can't deal with her kid being annoyed.
Yeah,
it's like ugh.
In many ways, that's like a good performance. Therefore, because she's getting that across. But then, like, the whole rest of the film is like she's this sort of idealized version of this person he can turn to.
Yeah.
When he needs somebody someone who will accept and love him for who he is. And then you have what I think was kind of a crappy twist of that wasn't ever happening, and she doesn't really know him, and all the times that it's kind of like that bit in Fight Club where he thinks back to all the times when he was talking to Tyler Durden, and then you see that he's just there on his own, and you're like, well, that's another movie that they've pulled from that I don't think they should have pulled from.
No, it's very badly done in this one as well, where it's like, yeah, we get it. Like, you get it as soon as she walks in and he's sitting in her living room, and she's like, oh, how did you're in the wrong apartment and blah blah blah, and she's not acting how she was in his imaginary
it's a
scenarios.
Little patronizing when they start showing you the flashbacks are not being actually like, well, and like she wasn't there and she never interacted with anyone else with him around, so
it's
obviously
it's a bit weak, and even that whole relationship didn't need to be in the movie. Like, I think it would have been stronger without that.
Yeah.
Because he's not really someone, you know, who that makes sense for. Like, that whole, like, this sexual relationship that he's having, or like supposed anyway, you know, it doesn't even make sense for the character. As you say, like, he seems childlike at times, and it should be more about his connection with Murray Franklin, albeit, you know, entirely in his head up until a certain point, his mother, and that's pretty much it. You know, that's the only people he really deals with, and
then there's like sometimes the people who he works or worked with.
Yeah,
here and there.
But that's almost like he's forced into it. You know? He kind of
wanna.
He can't, like, he's not really friends with any of those workmates. The guy Gary, he says to him, you know, oh, you were always nice to me, but that's about it. You know.
Yeah, he doesn't say you're my friend or I like you or anything. He's just like, you were always nice to me. The end.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have anything much more to say about him. So I'm not going to stab you with these scissors because you were nice to me. That doesn't qualify someone as your friend, I don't think.
I love it. Like that guy who plays Gary's just fucking brilliant in that scene, like,
Yeah,
because he's
so
so
good.
terrified, and he's just
It's
like,
the way he's fucking hiding in the corner and he doesn't
Yeah.
want to come out, and he's just like, no,
He's like,
what the fuck, dude, what the fuck?
and like Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix is very calm. Oh, you can go, it's fine. And he can't reach the lock, and
Yeah,
it's
that
so
bit,
awkward
that's
and
so
weird.
much more
and,
tense, because then he's just like, it's like he's letting him go, but then you think, is he really letting him go?
yeah,
Because now he can't get out. Now he's going to have to get up and let him out. And
Yeah.
is he going to let him out? You know, and it's like, it's actually really just like, that's one of the most powerful bits of the film,
yeah,
because it's just like, I don't trust him not to also just kill this guy,
yeah,
to just go psycho and just murder him. And it's tense and it's great. And that's sort of that's the point where, and like, yes, he has murdered people before that point, but that's the real turn.
yeah,
When he's willing to just like, I'm just going to stab this guy with these scissors and not give a fuck.
yeah,
You know, because he does give a fuck. There's a point when the part where he first cracks and kills the yuppies on the train.
mm-hmm.
There's a brief second, and I really appreciated this just as like just a tiny, tiny thing. He shoots them. Shoots all three of them. One of them is running away. One of them is hurt but not dead. And then there's a brief second where he puts the gun to his own head,
yeah,
like he's going to kill himself,
Yeah.
and then stops. And it's the briefest of moments where he just, in the midst of all this gesticulating, where the gun goes to the side of his head and then away again.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, and you're like, oh, there's just something about that I found really powerful. I was like, oh my god, he was actually just about to blow his own brains out, and then he didn't,
yeah,
you know. And then like at that point later, after he stabbed that guy, you know, he's past that,
mm-hmm.
and he's not going to do that.
Oh
He's
yeah,
not
like
gonna
he
kill himself.
barely reacts, or
Yeah,
it's more just like he's proud of it at this point. Like he doesn't see a problem with it.
yeah,
As well, like I love how I like when they paint the Waynes as assholes as well. You know,
Yeah.
it happened in one of the Telltale games, the Batman one. They make his parents were assholes. They actually worked for the mob, and they were dirty and stuff like this. And you think the greatest detective in the world would have worked that out, but apparently not. But I kind of like these different takes on them, because I kind of think when we were kids, it was always they were the squeaky clean, these like billionaires who, you know, got their money through only the nicest of ways, from like opening hospitals and stuff. And like you're going, that's not how people get rich, not to that level of rich.
No one who's a billionaire got to be a billionaire by doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And that is sadly true.
Yeah.
And very obviously true when you look at the current crop of billionaires that we have in the world, and the way they act and behave, and how they're all stroppy, greedy children.
Mm-hmm.
This feels very like, very much like a much more realistic take on the supposed rich, benevolent family who slaps their names on all these buildings and everything. You know, you don't put your name on a building like that unless you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
And that is just it. There's no getting around that. You have to be a narcissist to name a building after yourself.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd kept Thomas Wayne to just that, like, to know that the interactions, he could have even hallucinated, to know interactions with him would have been preferable to him actually meeting him and things like that, or even getting close enough to Bruce Wayne that he's interacting with him. I felt are kind of weak, but I do love that the interview with Thomas Wayne after he kills after the Joker kills the three yuppies, and that's what like sparks the whole revolution and riots stuff. Element of it is he literally calls like working Joes, he calls them clowns.
Yep.
You know, he fucks up big time, and he doesn't even realize. And later they even make it a point that he won't apologize about it. He doubles down almost and goes, yeah, you're fucking clowns, you know. Yeah. And that I kind of appreciate. It was like, yeah, that's the way they would think, and this guy's not going to be sympathetic to Arthur Fleck's fucking situation and things like that.
No.
But
no.
I kind of feel like they wanted to do too much, like, look, the Joker's interacting with Batman before he's Batman. It's like, nah.
Yeah. That I wonder about that. Yeah, I wonder about whether that's like a studio interference thing of you have to put this in. You have to have a Wayne. You have to have Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
In your Batman adjacent movie at some stage somehow.
And like the Batman that the one that we've definitely gotten in all these various pictures, and I don't know the comics that well. I know I've got a few of them actually. But he doesn't really fit into this universe in the sense that like this is a lot more grounded, and if you were going to do Batman, you would have to acknowledge that he is a fascist billionaire who takes it upon himself to beat up the disenfranchised. And it's like not all criminals are bad people. They're in bad situations. Is it okay to cripple someone, especially in America where it's not free healthcare? He doesn't kill them, but he might as well, because he's going to cripple someone for stealing so that he can feed his family too. It's like, Bruce, there's better ways of dealing with this shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, Batman lives in a comic book.
Yeah.
And silly movies and video games.
Yep.
He is the perfect video game character. In fact, it has turned out since Rocksteady started making video games about Batman that Batman is the perfect protagonist for your video game.
Yeah.
Because of the things he can do and the dumb things that he has. The stupid gadgets.
Yeah.
He fights like a ninja. He's sneaky, and he's got this power. He's the power fantasy guy of like, somebody says like Joker's got a giant balloon made out of parsnips and he's gonna drop it on the city, and Batman's response is no he won't, and walks off camera.
Yeah.
And then you're like, and then you believe it because it's Batman.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, Batman's right. He won't because Batman said he won't. Video games. That's video games right there.
He also has a great rogues gallery, and like it allows good writers to utilize things. I think the best ones are usually when they do go the kind of like mental health route, and you've got characters like Two-Face, who's obviously representing like split personality and things like that, and duality, and Joker's. This is why this movie's great in that sense, where it's playing on the strengths of the Joker as a character, and the many mysteries around the character of like it's kind of infamous that his backstory isn't known, and even the ones that even writers that have written a backstory for him, it's usually explained away as like it's a story that he's telling someone. It's
always nebulous. The most famous one of that is the Killing Joke.
Yes, yeah.
Where you get this backstory about the Joker, and then by the end of it, you're like, wait, hold on, did he just made that all up? Didn't he? Didn't he? But you're never sure.
Yeah.
You're never sure if he made it up. They play on that very well in The Dark Knight.
It's very like Tom Waits. Tom Waits does this all the time in interviews.
Yeah, he just tells lies about his life and stuff. Yeah.
Tom Waits would be a great Joker.
He would, wouldn't he? Yeah, but they do it well in The Dark Knight whenever Heath Ledger's Joker tells like all these different stories about how he got the scars on his face.
Yeah.
Every time he tells a story, it's completely different. And you're like, yeah, you can't believe a goddamn thing this guy says, because he just thinks it's funny to fuck with people. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
And also his sense of humor is, you can't understand his sense of humor. Although they always imply in the comics that Batman does understand it, and that's how he understands Joker's twisted sense of humor, and that's how you can catch him and blah blah blah. But yeah, but anyway,
you and I are the same, Batman.
Yeah, indeed. I think what we're basically saying is this movie works a lot better if you just ignore the Batman thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though they shove it in your face a few times, it's much better without it.
I suppose we should just be glad, like he didn't accidentally scare a load of bats that all like flew into Bruce Wayne's face. Like they didn't go that far with it.
That was the thing. What made him be
Oh
Batman?
my god, the Joker actually created Batman. It's not the other way around.
Oh my god! You mean just like in that 1989 movie? Yeah. Which I think comic book nerds weren't happy with all that.
They never are. There's no point trying to please comic book nerds, is there?
No, there isn't. It's you're fighting a losing battle there, and it's not one that's even worth winning.
No,
really. So who cares? So yeah, Joker's definitely the best one of these movies.
Yeah,
easily. Clown I thought was okay. Terrifier was bollocks. Now, John, which of these movies gives us the most effective method for getting rid of clowns? And I don't care what the method is as long as they're gone.
Yeah.
John.
Well, they don't get rid of Terrifier because he's supernaturally. They just take a leaf out of Freddy and Jason's page of like
Myers.
He just gets up and off. Like who cares?
He's extremely dead, but now he's alive in the morgue for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, who cares? Oh, great. He's going to be... yawn.
Clown is decapitate them, which, you know what? Yeah. Normally we don't go violent, but be up for decapitating a few clowns.
I have to correct you because that's not the only solution in Clown. One is decapitation. The other is feed them 5 children each.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's the way. I'm just saying, John, we have options.
Feed them children.
And that's one of them. And that is one of the solutions. That is the solution that is presented to them in Clown as being the way to get it to stop without killing him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, John. I mean...
it seems easier than cutting its head off.
It does seem easier because kids are small. I just don't like the idea of us getting a van and you know what?
Transferring our children into a van. It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
Yeah, because in Joker he gets arrested more than once.
Yeah,
it doesn't really work out for the people who arrest him.
But I think what we're overlooking here is like the Joker does kind of show us how things got out of hand. You know, I think if we just work to like fund our mental health institutes, then maybe less clowns will exist.
I think if we are more socially responsible, there will be less clowns.
Do not vote Tory or Republican. There we go.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, there's plenty of people on both sides that are scum.
Yeah, well, I know it's
all I'm going to say.
It's the douche and the turd argument, isn't it?
Yeah. You're exactly right. South Park. I was going to say South Park put it better, but South Park have always put it better on most topics. But I will just say, all I'm really saying is, social programs are really important and should be funded.
Don't leave the vulnerable members of society to roam the streets.
Yeah, when someone needs help, you're supposed to help them.
Yeah, mental health is a real problem. It's a real thing. Problem. It's even in the Joker. What is that he's written? The worst thing about.
Yeah, the worst thing about having a mental illness is people expect you to behave as if you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that kind of sums it up.
That is true.
It's the sad truth.
It is the sad truth, and I don't want to end on a bummer, but vote for people who will promote and fund social programs and things like the NHS, because at the minute that's not happening.
Or if that fails, just cut their heads off.
Or if that fails, we'll just chop all the clowns' heads off.
I would say there'd be a long queue for people ready to chop fucking Boris Johnson's head off.
Yeah.
To go back to our previous analogy of the real life clowns that
indeed
have probably killed more people than all the killer clowns in media combined.
Yeah,
fuck you, Boris.
And on that light note, We are on Twitter. We are at 7 Day Apocalypse. That is at numeral 7 Day Apocalypse. We also have a YouTube channel where we have been doing some adventure game playthroughs, which we're going to continue doing, probably with Discord too.
Yeah,
I think.
we should sometime soon.
Yes. So hooray for that. You can email us on filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. That is filmcast at thisweeksapocalypse.com. Never trust a clown.
No. Never get close enough to a clown to trust it.
No. Yeah, don't get close to clowns is the best advice I think anyone can really take from all this.
Yeah.
And don't vote for them either. But chish. Yeah.